Welcome to Apex Esports League. Tonight we are on Project Cars 2 for PS4. I'm JT and tonight is the opening round of the Apex Esports League Toyota 86 Championship. It is a 5-round series and tonight for the opening round we have Watkins Glen International Short. So we'll be having 2 sessions. We're heading off into 15-minute practice, weather is clear. A qualifying session for 15 minutes, weather is clear. Then we have the sprint race, which is 15 laps, weather is clear with no mandatory pit. And then after a short break, we'll head into session 2 with 15-minute qualifying, weather light cloud. And the main race is 30 laps, weather is light cloud to heavy cloud with a mandatory pit. And of course we are in the US of A for Watkins Glen International Short. Track length is 4.06 kilometres and there is 8 turns in the International Short version. So we're going to be seeing a lot of fast, tight racing on this short course with the 86s. And if you have been joining us for our previous series where we saw a 0-143 become the series champion for the Ginetta GT5 Challenge. The cars were running... Oh, that was a little bit off mark there. Steph hitting that tyre wall on the pit exit. But the series was another short course series with the Ginetta GT5s. And then the setups were forced to default, so the drivers could not actually adjust the car setups. However, we're going the same format again, just it is now allowed for custom setups. So probably going to see some variations in driving style as the drivers can now better suit their car to their style of driving. And then we'll make our way through the grid. We've got a full grid for the opening round, which is good to see. And these cars are a lot of fun to drive. They sound great. Very torquey cars. We have a few debuts to Apex Esports League tonight as well. So we wish them all the best. We have Cliffo83 as a newcomer to Apex Esports League. And also Spray and Pay 47 is debuting with us tonight. Having a little bit of bad luck in the first couple of corners. With track conditions, temperatures will be quite cool. Those tyres will be a little bit slippery out there at the moment. The season is spring. We did run the Ginetta GT5s as autumn, so we did see some very low track temperatures. And I'm pretty sure the Ginetta GT5s only ran the one slick compound. Oh, and a little bit slippery there for Steph as well.
Wow.
Game session time starts at 9 AM. And time progression is ×2, so as the 15-minute practice session progresses, it'll simulate half an hour out in the game. So we'll see track temperatures start to go up. And with the clear conditions, track temps will be nice and warm by the time we get into the sprint race. So we'll make ourselves familiar with everyone's livery, so we can start to recognise everyone. Hopefully there's no double ups. We have Kakadu 2, a familiar name with Apex eSports League, in car number 3. Cliffo just nearly making some wall contact there. So Cliffo in car number 129 and sliding there as well. We just have a few people go off track to get around. That's where we saw Steph just go around before. And if you're joining us for the stream too and you haven't done so yet, don't forget to hit that follow button. We appreciate the support for growing Apex eSports League. And there is also our social media links down below. Our YouTube channel is where we store all our past broadcasts. You can go there to see all our past series live events saved onto there. And then our Facebook page as well, so you can actually get results, standings and incident report updates. So we have Azuro, who just had the championship win in the Janettas in the red and black car. Gallen in the white car, number 12. Seeing a few little lag spikes, so our game is still syncing up. And Philly Manelli, and that would be Wira behind him, who are in matching team colours. Well, just marginally cuts in front of Steph's car, I think that was. So Philly and Wira Jury doing pretty good, similar pace out there, so doing well with being the Vazmac team. Mick Cliff and the Caspello car number 138. DK1 Rush in car 119. So they're getting some beautiful speed along that straight. Those cars sound brilliant. And when you've joined us for the stream as well, have a look down below. There is a sound control bar. You can cheer, boo, applaud, do all sorts of different sound effects over the stream. And it doesn't cost you any bits at all. You can use those for free. So be sure to play some cheers on for your favourite drivers. Get involved in the chat and say good day. And let us know who you think's going to take pole position, who you think's going to be in for a win. And we'll just make ourselves familiar with D-Train. So he's in car number 117. Jeffrey's in car number 130. So he's in matching team colours with our newcomer as well. Drivers having matching team liveries usually will tend to share a pit bay as well, so that will come into play in the second session with the main race being a mandatory pit. So we have DG0787 in car number 58. Okay, Dog in car number 21. He's showing a bit of damage to that car. Looks like Steph is in car number 92. We've checked him in. It's a spray and pray, showing a fair bit of damage. He's in car number 15. Balaki also has that front bar flapping around. He's in car number 57, so he's in matching team livery as DG. And we're waiting on Kakadu, Cliffo, Spray and Pray and Balaki to get a time on the board. For a lap with someone in a moment. It's the first time it's been coming through. It's pretty similar pace for first laps. So there's 8.5 minutes remaining of practice at the moment. We have our first 7 drivers within 1.5 seconds. And then our first 11 is 4 seconds difference. So he's doing pretty good. And we've had a few of our newer drivers from last series apparently showing some pretty good pace in the practices leading up to tonight. So hopefully we see some good results come from there. Zeros. We've got about half a lap to go. And Sami, we haven't checked him out, so he's in car number 5. Ooh, we've just had, I think that was Spray and Pray just moving over as Sami was exiting the pits. So there's a lot of fast corners, some very quick sweeping bends. They can get very slippery, especially when these tyres haven't quite got temp up yet. I think we might be able to jump on for a lap of Azuros. Yes, so we're just gone through pit straight. Okay, he's just gone through turn 1. It's a very sharp right-hand bend, very fast sweeping bend, up to an off-camber left fast turn with wall right on that exit curb. And it's flat stick down along here. In the longer variations is where we see chicanes here. It still is in here, just not showing on the map. I thought it usually cuts through for it. Oh yes, it is there. On my director's screen it was blocking out the track. You can see the different variation of the track going off to the side there. So very quick along the back straights. Can go fairly quick around the second last turn. And a very fast last turn as well. And then down along the pit straight. So there is a lot of pit stalls, so drivers should probably be right, not have to share a pit bay. You can hear that car cackling out. It's a beautiful sound coming out of these cars. Very deep, throaty sound. That is quite a good looking livery that Azuro's picked. So Azuro's still coming through with the quickest time, a 1:12.594. Sami with 1:13.348, it's a 0.7 of a second difference. And you will notice fuel loads will be different. Drivers will generally have a qualifying setup and then a race setup, and then have just enough fuel to get through the race, where in the default setups that we had in the Genetta series, that is all determined by the game. Oh, that's a big broad slide by Gallon. He's just put that into the wall. That's a pretty hard hit. He'll bring that car back into the pits. Gallon was doing well with a 1:13.850. Oh, we've just had someone disconnect. That's Azuro. And they were talking in the lobby beforehand that apparently Azuro was going to be having some family show up at about 10 to 8, I think it was, something like that, and then he just told them to make sure they have Wi-Fi already switched off on their devices so it does not steal bandwidth. And it's coming up to about that time, so it's possibly happened. And they've stolen that bandwidth, seeing him get disconnected. I think that is Blarkey there that Gallon is getting around at the moment. So all drivers have got times on the board. So when you come on Cliffo, it's only 6.6 seconds off pace, and you can see where we had some near close encounter with Sami and Spray and Pay as he came around on that pit exit. It comes out right on the turning line. So as it starts to turn in for turn 1, it is where the pit exit comes out. And it is very similar to the risks that you usually see on the Long Beach street circuit. So it is going to be a very risky spot once we start seeing the mandatory pits being needed to be done in the main race zone. Whereas this brought that car in. Drivers will need to make sure that they familiarise themselves with the pit lane as well. As it is set to manual pits. The game, when it is set to auto pits, it is a matter of just bringing the car in across the pit entry line, and then the game will take over the car and drive it. However, for this, it is manual pits, so your drivers do need to have full control over the car in the pits, controlling their speed, and then also finding their own pit bay, and then ensuring they pull up nice and clean on the spot. If they overshoot or fall short, they will have to adjust that up, so that will cost them time and potentially positions whilst in pit lane. And then if they don't have their pit strategies set up correctly, and then many errors usually are made that way, it can cost them dearly, and then races have been lost because of that. Oh, Jeffrey's getting very broad using those curbs, a little bit of grass touched as he goes around those corners. A little bit of rear slip as he goes around that right bend. And Gallon's come through with the quickest time at 1:13.292. A Zero did come in with a 1:12. But Gallon is very tight on Sami's time, and only 0.056 is the gap. This lap won't be counting for Gallon. It looks like this lap time's been invalidated. It's a little bit slippery still. You can see that rear sliding out. Steph doing well with a 4.6. Steph debuted with us last series, and pace was usually about 8 to 10 seconds difference from the pole times, so that's a big increase. So she's been very focused and carving it up in the Toyota 86. But hopefully this will be a very good series for Steph, and we can see her get up towards the top of the grids. Philly Manili only 0.134 off quickest pace at the moment. There's 30 seconds remaining. I'm not sure if it's enough time for a Zero to get another time on the board for the practice. Just to see how he comes through. Oh, contact. That was tight. He was really pushing that car out to the exit curb. And then it looks like Spray and Pay was just off on the side there. He's taken a fair bit. We just had someone go off wide, as well as cars going every which way around that bend. The drivers were talking about just how tricky that corner is. And the Zero did manage to get a time in on the practice session, coming back with another 1:12. So, some very good pace. That's who I was trying to jump over to. The drivers got 50 seconds to wrap up the last lap for practice. DK doing well, is with only 1.125 off pace. So we have our first 9 drivers less than 1.5 seconds separating. First 15 is only 6.7 seconds. And we got Spray and Pay with about 20 seconds. He was having some difficulty there. Hopefully he has some better luck coming through into the qualifying session. There's a Nominal, thanks for joining us, mate. Good to see you. And then that is it for the practice session. So results for the free practice, we had a 0:143 after disconnecting, getting back in and getting a 1:12 straight off the mark again. So he's done very well. Then can he follow through in the qualifying session? So off we go into 15 minutes of qualifying, ready for the sprint race. can't actually see on my director screen to move my controls around, as that blue tarp of the pit bay was actually the exact same colour as the box indicator that I was on, so that is much easier to see now. Drivers scrambling out very quickly to get onto track. Drivers will need to make sure that when they're leaving the pits to hit that pit speed limiter. If they do speed in pits, they'll be penalised with a grid place penalty. Let's see if we can notice there's a little bit of slip that we see with these cars on the opening laps. He's already wrapping up his first out lap. Get tyre data coming up. Can't see it. D-Train playing a very cautious out lap. Game session time is now 10 AM. That means ambient temperatures will be going up. Weather is still clear. We should see track temperatures starting to go up. I'm not sure what the drivers will be doing with tyre selections, just how much they're going to be scrubbing out. There are two slick options, so there is the soft and the hard. Most likely we'll be sticking with the soft compound for the sprint race, but they probably look at the hard compound for the longer stint. This track with the fast corners and where we're noticing the rear tend to slip out of these, and they are very torquey cars. They are great for getting that rear to slide out under power, so it will put a fair bit of wear onto those tyres. With the season being spring, I think there was a little bit of a lag hit that was just put into, I think it was Spray and Pay's car. So Kakadu may have made some contact, but it looked like it was distant enough that was probably lag interference that did cause that tap. So Zero's come straight through with another 112 again. We didn't see any other drivers get into the 112 mark. And Spray and Pay's just copped himself a grid place penalty as well. So one grid place penalty for speeding in the pits. And if you aren't familiar with how the mechanics for Project Cars 2 works, if you do see the red indicator on the standings number on the position panel over to the left, that means that they have actually incurred a time second penalty or grid place penalty in the race. Once that red number shows up, that means they are wearing some time that will be added to the end of their race. And we have seen positions lost and even race wins stripped away by just only a couple seconds of a time penalty. We saw that in the GT5s. I think it was Rooney losing a victory to a Zero by way of time penalty, and that was rather lucky as well, as a Zero did go through taking 9 victories from 9 races out of the 5-week series for the GT5s. So that flawless victory would have been stripped if Rooney did not wear that 1 to 2 second time penalty. Rooney not getting involved tonight. We did have an overwhelming response to drivers wanting to get in on this series, so we do have a reserve list for it. So it was a lot of drivers quickly joining the session as soon as it started to secure their spots, so it's good to see a lot of excitement for the GT86s. Someone's just off on the side there. We just had Nick Cliff move up the line a fair bit, same as Wira as well, up in the 113s. Philly Minelli in the 113s. We had Gallen in the front 13s in the practice session. Gallen currently being a bit conservative out on track. He's got a 124. Looks like he's taken some damage as well. I don't know if he got caught up into a bingle with someone else. Doing very well, and he does drive with a controller as well. And the rest of the field is generally in a sim rig setup, so steering wheel and pedals, which this game is not an easy task to get a car under control with a controller. Some drivers doing well in a series and had to actually head off on a holiday for one of the rounds, not wanting to miss it, ended up taking their PlayStation with them and then looking to use a controller to try and do it. Gave up and actually just brought their steering wheel. So we've had a couple of people do that. So that's some very good dedication to their sim racing. Oh, and we've had a 112.9 set by Sami. Sami's showing some brilliant pace. Sami's been a very quick driver, but has been in the brunt of a lot of incidents. Not at his fault either. He's just always been in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's amazing just how much bad luck Sami cops. No matter where he is on track, if there's an incident going on, he'll be involved in it. He's done nothing to be able to get mixed up into it, so hopefully a lot more better luck for him this time around. And we can see him take a race victory and even possibly a championship win. He is well overdue for it with just how well he has been racing in the last few series. So need to reload up for my control over the stream. So we're getting a few podiums in the last few rounds of the Ginettas. He's showing some brilliant fast pace. He will be one to look out for. And I think Philly and Wera did join mid-series, so I don't think they were there for the opening round. And they both did very well in the championship. And I'm pretty sure it was their first time getting involved in a league-style race. So they are doing phenomenally well. Wera will be one to look out for, especially with the current time of 113.318. How Azura has been driving in the last few championships, we need someone to be able to really put some pressure on and steal some wins away from him. He's been having a very good, strong run. Streaks will need to be broken. Who will be up for the challenge? So far it's looking that Sami and Wera would be having a real good shot at doing so. Jeffrey's 11.09, very good pace out on track as well. He's not a debuter with us, he has raced a few times, hasn't been in a lot of series, but it's good to see him back on board. Cuts that corner there. Showing some front end damage to that car again. And Balaki debuted with us midway through the series for the Ginettas. and then he was driving extremely well, and then majority of all our drivers are middle-aged guys, so Larky is only 12 years old, and he is out there with these guys really putting some good pace down. So it'd be great to see how he develops throughout this series, and if he starts getting up a fair way through the grid and really giving these guys a run for their money. See if he can show the older guys just how it's done. We're at very close pace. DG just getting around Spray and Pay, both showing some visual damage to those cars. Kakadu also showing some damage. And the way the game works as well, once the car's taken damage, if you do bring it into the pits or get it repaired, it will actually still leave visual damage to the car. It'll replace panels and put them back on, but it'll still show scrapes and dents and the likes. But it doesn't always necessarily mean that they've been in a recently involved incident. Coco Dog is doing well. He's with a 1:15.3, that's 2.7 seconds off the pace, so that sees him qualifying currently in 12th position. So to only be a couple of seconds off pace and then be in 12th just shows just how tight these drivers are in their times. Steph doing also well, 4.8 seconds off. She'll be able to probably shave a little bit more time off that one there. She needs to save 2.1 seconds to gain a position. She is actually wearing the Project Cars 2, or just Project Cars livery on that Toyota Rocket Bunny. Currently 9.5 seconds off pace. Oh, that slippery corner, that's going to get a lot of drivers. So that is the second last turn. You can take it reasonably quick, but especially with these cars being very torquey, you got to really watch that throttle going around. It does need to be feathered through. You don't want to be getting too heavy on the brakes. Oh, we've had pole position stolen away by Sami, a 1:12.604. He's beaten the Zero's pole time of only by 0.061. That is very tight. There is only 1 minute remaining of qualifying. Zero is going to have to try and shave off only a smidgen of his lap time to get that pole back. But it's showing a fair bit of promise for Sami for a potential race win. Oh, he's brought that car in the pits, so this is it for Sami's qualifying. He could have got another lap in. Will Azure steal this pole back away? He should be able to cross the line just in time. Yep, 30 seconds remain. Doesn't improve his time. He will have enough time to get around for one more lap. If he's going to get that pole back, he will have to do it this lap. And Gallen has also moved up towards the top end. He's currently also in the 1:12 bracket. I don't think it's to do with fuel loads. It's probably just drivers getting more fuel into the track. A bit of rubber being put down on the track, as well as the increased track temperatures. You can just see just why those first corners there can be quite slippery. I don't know if you could notice in the broadcast, but that car dips down. There is actually quite a drop coming down over the track. Gallen will have a shot for this lap to get across and get another lap in and see if he can improve that time. He's not much off. So just under a minute remaining to get this last lap done with lap times of 1:13. Ample time to wrap up the final lap. Usually we only have 1 or 2 cars still out on track at this stage in qualifying, but we have almost half the grid out there still racing around trying to get these times in. His last turns, oh, and it's just someone's gone off wide. I think that may have been Steph. So we got Wirra and Philly. Team colours, can they do a 1-2 improve their times? Wirra, no, he doesn't improve, but Philly moves up into starting position 4. Gallen maintains 3rd. Can Blakey improve that time? Shave a second off and he can move up into Cliff's position. Let's see how he has gone. Tasami maintains pole position. So pole for the opening race of the series. So a very promising start to the opening round for Sami. So hopefully he can follow through with a strong result in the sprint race as well. So also starting from 2nd position is Azuro, followed by Gallen, Philly, Wirra, DK, Mick Cliff, D-Train, Jeffries, DG, Kakadu, Coco Dog, Steph, Cliffo, Balaki not improving that time and taking a position. We have Spray and Pay 47 starting in position 16. He's got the grid place penalty, so that doesn't come into play. So it is will be starting as it is seen. So over into the sprint race. Our drivers now have a couple of minutes to get their car set up for the race. We didn't see very long wait times in the last series with the Genettas, as it was forced to default, so they could not change anything. All they could do is set their pit strategy. So this time around they will be swapping out to from their qualifying setups, which usually run a much lower fuel load, and they usually close up all the cowlings as well. So the radiator openings and the likes, you can close them up to give you some better aerodynamics for the car and try and push out those lap times. However, you do start to suffer performance damage to the engine as you'll start to cook it, and then you'll lose power going around. So if they do not swap that back out for the race, they will see themselves copping some damage and requiring some repairs. So they do need to ensure they swap those settings back over and make sure that they've calculated enough fuel load to last out the race. Once the drivers have done that, if they don't hit that ready button in time, they will actually be disqualified and sent to the pits, and they won't see the start of the race. Going to get to see too many cars breaking away from the grid from that track positions, that camera angle. We will get to see a good start. Oh, it's a very zoomed out shot. Cameraman zoom in. Now we are green for the opening race. And Azuro gets away to a brilliant start, and so does Philly and Gallen. DK Rush and Wirra. Sami has dropped back down to 6th position now, and is a little touch. He's right in front of Mick Cliff's car. He had D-Train just in front of him as well. Gallen is in now in 3rd position. Philly Manili has pulled away to a massive start. He's out into 2nd position, and he's quickly closing in on Azuro. Azuro pulled away from the rest of the pack very quickly. I'm not sure what happened to Sami, whether he spooled that car up and got away a little too quick and spun. Looks like a okay start. not too much of a time difference through the grid, so I think it's been a pretty clear first few turns. Hopefully it's a nice clean first lap, but Azuro is starting to pull out away on the rest of the field. Gallon is starting to make a move on Philly. Philly has dropped away from Azuro. Azuro's got about a second over the pack. Oh, very slippery by Gallon as he goes to take that slightly inside line. This is going to be tricky coming into turn 1. He's going to have to shave off a lot of speed. He's going to have to try and force a stop by Philly. And there's a little bit of a rub. That was some tight racing. Gallon gets away nicely, and we have Wera and Sami catching up onto Philly now. It's 1.6 second lead Azuro has on the race. He's flying ahead at the moment. That's where he becomes very dangerous. These guys are going to have to start trying to really catch up on him. It's a very nice line of cars for lap 2. They are keeping some very strong pace. Oh, that's a big spin. Is that Gallon? Gallon has spun and he's just been flipped and turned around. So he's gotten broad and then spun back out into traffic and then in turn being flipped around. That's a big hit, and I'm not sure who else got involved in that. I think some of our midfield, DK Rush, I think may have actually hit Gallon's car. There is debris all over the track. Philly Manili is now in second position. Sami's moved up in the third, but he's gone very wide on turn 1. So that's now allowed Wera to move back in. Sami did take that position away from Wera just half a lap before. Team Vazmak doing very well. Position 2 and position 3, but Sami is going to be putting some pressure on Wera to have another shot at getting around. Gallon has done reasonably well. He's now in 9th position. He's only lost 7 positions from that spectacular crash. So we've seen DK1 Rush. I think he's just come out of pits potentially. And also Kakadu, wherever he is, taking the brunt of the hit as well. So we've seen Blakey move up into 13th position, McCliff into 12th position. Cliffo, our debut, in 11th position after starting the grid. Probably mid to back. Spray and Pay as well started from 16th, so he's now up into 10th position. And Cliffo has just gone into the pits and he's just sped as well, so he's just copped a time second penalty. So Jeffries has moved up into 8th position. And Sami did get around Wera and Philly Manili, but it looks like it was at the expense of cutting a corner, as he's now wearing a time second penalty. That's for 1 second. It's not an overly drastic time second penalty, but if these guys stay as tight as they are for the remaining 11 laps, he's definitely going to lose possibly 2 positions. So he's going to have to try and really push in hard to get ahead. It's going to be pretty tough to try and catch Azuro at this stage. He's now in his element. Once he has got no one really in his mirrors to have to worry about, he just gets quicker and quicker. Oh, and Philly Manili gets alongside of Wera, and inside pass. He got up onto that curb, and he was lucky he came and bounced out into Wera, so a friendly assist from his teammate. Otherwise, that would have actually seen him into a spin. Wera's car being a good little safety guide for him. We have Coco Dog starting to catch up on Jeffries. And then down the back of the pack we have DK Rush looking to try and reclaim some positions. So he's going to be catching up on Cliffo very shortly. Doing well. Last lap around at 1:14.439. Did have some quicker pace than Philly. Quickest lap last set was 1:13.452, and it was by a 0. So that is very quick. That's what I mean by him being in his element and becoming very dangerous once he has that gap on the field. He then becomes unstoppable out there. Sami has really pulled away from Philly and Wira now. He's now pushed that gap by 3 seconds over third position. With current last lap times, we won't be probably seeing him being able to catch up to a 0 unless he can really start digging deep and shaving off some times. He's going to have to start setting some consistent 1:13s, and it could be enough to actually get to the tail of a 0. And we have just had a disconnect by the look. I know someone's retired. Not sure who it is that's retired. Make our way through the rest of the field, see how everyone is going. Bit of space going on with our drivers now. Kakadu in 15th position. He's a lap down. Cliffo is in 14th position. His last lap of 1:21. Have Philly and Wira still keeping very consistent pace to each other. And last lap around, Sami did come through with a 1:13.987. That's half a second slower than a 0's. But if he can keep that consistent pace, if a 0 slips out a little bit of pace, there is still a shot to catch up. So we're just approaching the halfway mark now for the sprint race. So now lap 7 of 15. Nice little crackle of the car as they were downshifting. Oh, and that Wira was having a little bit of oversteer going through the last corners. That's cost him some time. He moves out of the way and allows Philly through. So we have D-Train closing in on these guys as well. He's been silently creeping up. He has closed in very quickly. Both Wira and Philly are going to have to be looking at defending against D-Train. And he is going flat out. Last lap of 1:14.879. Wira's last lap of 1:16.2. And Philly a 1:15 as well. And Philly did just get lost on that last corner there just before we crossed over, so it's allowed Wira and D-Train to take a position. And D-Train is quickly catching up to Wira now as well. He's only 2 seconds away. I think that's a lapped car just up ahead. I'm not sure whose car that is. Oh, and he's just gone for a big slide as well. I think that was Jeffrey's. No, it was not Jeffrey's car. I think that may have been Cliffo's. I'm not sure whose car that is. It may have been Kakadu's. Yeah, it was Kakadu's car. He just slipped around. That's Coco Dog just getting around Kakadu at the moment. Coco's car's looking very spick and clean, so he's managed to be avoiding any of the incidents that's been going on, and especially when he was in that midfield as they came around that bend when Gallen spun out. He's done well to avoid contact in that, so I'm pretty sure a fair few cars did make contact in that, because we're seeing a lot of damage towards that back end of the field as they came around. This is a time second penalty being worn by Gallen as well. And 0 on lap 10. 5 laps remain. He's leading the race by 5.7 seconds. Last lap set was a 1:13.7. Sami's last lap of 1:13.8. Sami is really trying to push with those times. If Sami had had a much better start to the race, I think we would have been seeing him out leading the race. They're having some very bad luck to have lost 3 or 4 positions at the start, to have now recovered and sitting in second position and then slowly picking away at that gap between him and 0. D-Train still trying to get up close to Wira. Wira is really pushing some big pace. They're very similar lap times. Wira setting a 1:15.162 and D-Train setting a 1:15.334 for the last lap. Well, that's a lot of speed being carried into that second last turn by D-Train. He got right out onto that exit curve. And that was a blistering quick lap for him, a 1:14.679. Whereas it was a 1:15.216. He keeps that pace up for this lap. He will be going for a pass by the end of this time going around. It is lap 11 of 15, 4 laps remain. Sure, whose car is that Coco Dog's car? Yeah, Coco Dog's taken some damage, so I jinxed him talking too soon. That car is crab walking down pit lane. He's taken a very strong hit to that front left and a huge scrape along the right, so he's struggling to find where his pit bay is. This is what I was talking about before with the pits being set to manual. In the practice sessions, it does usually pay well to actually peel into the pits and just familiarise yourself where your pit bay is and what colour tents and markings may be around for your pit stop, as it can cost you very precious seconds in the race, and you do not want to lose that just by getting lost in pit lane. Zero is still doing well out in front. His pace has slowed off a bit. You can take it a little bit easy. A 1:14.8 last time around. Sami is doing a 1:13.8. He's brought that gap down by another second. But it's not going to be enough over the course of 3 more laps, I'm afraid. Unless something goes wrong for a 0. But we have not really seen that before. Drivers can tend to feel a fair bit of pressure being out in front, and once they don't have any cars around to sort of gauge with, you can tend to lose pace, where that is not the case for a 0, so that's where he becomes a weapon once he has a good lead out in front. That's once he gets some pressure from someone pestering around the rear, that's when his pace isn't as quick. That's why these guys have got to try and stay on his tail pretty quick on in the race. D-Train still unable to close that gap in on Wira. And Gallen doing well at the moment. He's recovered back up into 6th position after being in 2nd and having been flipped. That is a very good recovery. I think that's Kakadoo's car that he's just gotten past. Yes, Kakadoo's got some slip going on. Gallon is missing that front bar as well. So it looks like he's taken more damage. Unless he never actually went into the pits for repairs, potentially. That may be the case. That's probably why he's recovered so well. For him to have escaped. Any really critical damage out of that crash is pretty spectacular. Oh, Kakadoo's just had a big spin. That's a big hit. Rolling that out on track. There's some traffic coming around. He's going to have to be cautious. All the cars. Gearbox is locked in. Got some issues with the cars. And drivers are not permitted to use the car reset feature in this series either. It wears a 20-point penalty to your championship points. Ooh, and D-Train cost there. That's going to be a slowdown for him. Probably would pay heed to actually abide by that and not cop a couple of seconds for that, as that could potentially cost him a position to Philly Manilli, as he is only about 4 seconds away from him. So we're on the last lap, lap 15. Zero gets through the first corners on the final lap. He would have been in a bit of trouble as Sami was still picking away quicker lap times than Azuro. If there was some more laps to go, I think we could see Sami there. Definitely with that race pace he has been putting down now. If he had have got away on that pole start, I think we would have seen Sami take victory here for the opening race. Just ahead of him is DG. Oh, I think that was DG just gone for a spin. That's where we just saw Kakadoo come undone as well. So there's probably some debris on track potentially. It's a very jittery camera angle there. I'm not sure if that shows on the broadcast screen as well. Same on the Snarl, it's just on my race director's one. And then we have Azuro coming through with victory. Well done, Azuro. Sami takes 2nd position. Well and truly safe with his time 2nd penalty, as Wira is 12 seconds off him. Wira comes flying up across the line in 3rd position. That's podium finish again for Wira. D-Train narrowly misses out in 4th position. Philly Manilli, a great race as well, in 5th position. We have Gallant 350 in 6th. A very good recovery. Really, with a crash like we saw, that shouldn't have been a top 10 finish, you would think, and he manages it. There's 30 seconds remaining. Spray and Pay. Prey is coming up in 7th position for his debut race with Apex eSports League. 7th is a great finish. Mick in 8th, DK in 9th. And that was some very good, fierce racing for the opening race. We have Azuro 143 taking victory in the opening race. And then we have Sami coming through on the podium in 2nd position, with Wira also on the podium in 3rd, followed by D-Train, Philly Manilli, Gallant, Spray and Pray, Mick Cliff, DK Rush, Jeffries, Steph, Cliffo, Coco Dog, Kakadoo, DG, and Balaki, who, he DQ'd, so he must have sped in pits, so that won't be giving him any points for the race. A DQ does not score any points for the round, so that's a very unfortunate opening race for Balaki. So we'll be having about 8 or 9 minute break for the drivers as we prepare to get into session 2. So it is 30 laps for the main race, and then it is another 15-minute qualifying session that we'll be heading into. So Be sure to stay tuned as we have the break, and we'll be back for session 2 in a moment. And welcome back for session 2. So of course this is the opening round of the Toyota 86 Championship. And we are racing at Watkins Glen International Short. We did just see in the sprint race Zero taking victory. He had some very quick pace going throughout the race, as well as Sami showing some very strong pace, and he did set a pole position for the race. However, he did have a bad start, losing about 4 or 5 positions from the starting lights. So if he had have kept that pace, he could have definitely had a race win if he had had that good start. So hopefully a bit of better luck for him coming into session 2 tonight. So we still have a full grid. We saw Balaki getting a DQ. He had a plus 50 time second penalty coming into halfway through the race, I think it was. We saw him drop out. So excessively speeding in pits will actually see a DQ. Usually a hefty speed, usually about 20 k's over, we'll see the drivers get about 10-second penalty. Once the drivers get a 20-second time penalty, it then ensues a drive-through penalty to be served. But then if it actually gets up to the 50-second mark, so that's usually very excessive speeding, or if you've done a lot of cutting corners and the lights, you will actually see a DQ. Is that you, Corby? Thanks for joining us. We had a Zero take the victory in the sprint race. He did qualify in second position. We had Sami qualify pole. Sami ended up dropping down to about 5th or 6th position at the lights, and then recovered very quickly up into position 2, and then managed to start closing the gap on a Zero, where he was leading the race by about 8 to 10 seconds, and that was down to nearly 4 seconds on the last lap. And then we also, who was actually, I cannot even recall for myself, who took the other podium spot. I think it was Wira on the podium. I'll bring up my screen. Yes, so Wira Djuri took the 3rd place in the first race. And we saw Gallen have a big spin and get flipped on the, I think it was lap 2, and he was in 2nd position. And then he managed to recover back up into 6th position, so he did very well after dropping to the back of the field. And some very good tight racing. And Steph's just ran wide, just invalidated a time. Steph is showing some very good pace as well. Good finishes from our debuts. So Cliffo 83 did well for his opening race. That was after qualifying down towards the back end. And Spray and Pay also, after qualifying 16th, finished midfield, so that is an outstanding result. First time's coming through, and a Zero nails another 112 straight off the bat. Oh, very slippery still for a Zero. He is really pushing that car through. I think we can see if the drivers actually got their traction control on as well, so ABS and traction control is on for a Zero. Will be interesting to see. Yeah, so there's some differences. So we have Sami not running traction control or ABS. right up on that curb. Very broad slide for Sami. We saw a similar thing happen on turn 1 with Philly and Wira, where Philly ended up using Wira as a way of actually getting his car back under control as it bounced his car straight up. That curb is very steep, and these cars are very low to the ground, so it will launch that car right across the track. So you do need to play very cautious. So game session time is starting 1 PM. Weather conditions are slightly varied. So we had clear conditions in the first session. Weather is light cloud. Track temperatures will be reasonably warm. And Zero still out there with a 112. Oh, he's brought that car back. And Philly's taken quite a big hit. A fair bit of issues going on in the first few laps of qualifying. The DK Rush ended up setting a very good qualifying time and got off to a very good start in the race, but he did get caught up in Gallen's spin. So we saw him fall towards the back of the field and then also start to make his way back up as well. I'm not sure if that's DG or Balaki that's just ran off there. I think it may have been Balaki. Yes, it was Balaki that was just off. Gallen is doing well with the second quickest time out there so far. Sami did steal away pole position with a 112. Can he do it again? Mickcliffe also coming through with a very good quick time, a 1:13.364. He's just under a second from Zero's pole setting time. And he's doing that from a controller. That is some very quick times indeed. Philly had a very good race as well. He started to have a bit of bad luck. All that spray and pray just getting slippery on that last corner. Several drivers finding a fair bit of slip coming onto that last turn. We're not putting as much pace in as we were seeing him in the first session. He's currently qualifying in 12th position. Looking to try and get some temp into these tyres. So drivers must be finding that the track temperatures must be a little bit cool. The track really seems to be quite slippery still. I think that was Gallen that was just moving out of the way for Wira. He's probably going to sit there and tuck in for a slipstream. So Wira's got some very good pace, so that would be a good driver to sit in behind. And he's even weaving, trying to get some extra temp in as well. Coco Dog showing some visual damage. He's just bringing that car back out of the pits. Kakadu, having a lot of bad luck in race 1. You saw him spin out several times. You can see these cars do love to get that rear sliding. Steph doing some very good pace as well. Only just under 5 seconds off the pole time, so it's still a very quick time. Well, Philly Manili has come through with second quickest, so he's bumped Gallen down. There's not much difference in between Gallen and Sami's qualifying time. There's for 1:13.103 and a 1:13.120. That is very tight indeed. Half a second difference between Azuro and Philly. Sami did get into the 112s last time. Not sure he can do it again. He's going to probably bring that car into the pits at that pace by the go of things. Jeffrey's doing well with a 1:13.8. If you have joined us for the stream and you haven't done so yet and you're new to our streams on Apex Esports League, don't forget to hit that follow button. We appreciate the support. And don't forget our social media links down below. Our YouTube channel has all our past broadcast races saved over there, so you can go back and see all the exciting action from our previous championships. And there's also our Facebook page, so you can see our results, standings and incident reports. There's just about 5 minutes remaining of qualifying. Zero still out there with the quickest time. He's just brought that car back into the pits. I think that may have just been Steph that was just off to the track there as D-Train goes around. Oh, and she just made some wall contact as she moves out of the way for DG. Wira and Philly Manili are closing up behind her as well. She's probably going to want to bring that car in. She's probably just going to get the car fixed, so that way she can at least keep her same set of tyres. No, she's going to bring it back out. She's just moving out of the way. That must have taken enough damage. It was around the last few minutes that we saw Sami take the pole. Oh, Gallon, big broad drift. That was a big slide. It would have been impressive if he could have held it off. I think that's DG off. No, that is Balaki. It's also off in that same corner as Gallon, where we saw several cars come undone in race one. He gets back out on track. So he's doing well with a 1:16.3 as well. Oh, side by side, like Philly and Wira. These two have got very similar pace. They were following each other for most of race one. They do well with their matching team colours, with their race pace as well. Philly still holding position 2. He's in the 112s. Gallon's marginally off the 112. And I think that's Sami that's in behind Gallon at the moment. This will be a good opportunity. Oh no, he followed suit with Gallon. So he was really focusing on staying behind Gallon. And then that does tend to happen fairly often once you start really setting with someone else at the same pace, trying to take advantage of a slipstream and follow their lines. If they do run wide, you do tend to follow through. It is very reactionary. Zero must be feeling pretty confident with his time. He's just chilling in the pits. There is 2 minutes remaining. Oh, Philly's just made wall contact. He is probably trying to choose return to pit as the car drifted off towards the side of the track. Gallon and Sami this time around hopefully get a bit of better luck. Gallon will have the advantage of a slipstream from Sami. Would have been a good chance for Sami to try and steal away a pole with tucking in behind Gallon if he hadn't have run wide along with him. This is where we saw them both come undone before. Gallon's done the same thing. Sami manages to get through a lot better. Let's see how he goes as he crosses the end of Sector 2. So his best lap is 0.188. It'll be enough to steal a position away from Gallon. Won't be a pole setting lap, but he's going to have potential. Oh no, he's only going to get one more lap in. This will be his last laps. This will be beating Gallon's time. Moves, oh, and beats Phillies as well. Moves into second position. Zero will not have a chance to try and defend this pole now. It can be taken away from him. 1:12.3 is a pretty tight time. It will be hard to beat. Gal's now been bumped down into 4th position. He's going to have to dig deep. Oh no, this cost him for his last lap. I think there was Sami just ahead of him, so he almost could have, he might have even been doing that to let Sami. Oh no, he did actually tuck back in. I thought he may have actually stayed ahead of Sami in the end. May have been offering him a bit of assistance for a slipstream. Oh, Wera completely missed that corner. That was some huge pace coming in. I wouldn't call that probably understeer. I think there was just no steer into that. That was flat stick. Yeah, that is right, Demon. There is a lot of aero wash with these cars. And that's it. The qualifying is complete. There is 65 seconds remaining to get this last lap done. Last time in the qualifying session, we still had at least 8 cars running at this stage. And most have returned it in. Can Jeffries make an improvement? He's in 8th position. That's it for Wera as well. We have DG, Cliffo, and Spray and Pray. Can DG improve his time and bump himself up the ladder? He improves the time, but it's not enough to gain a position. Cliffo is done. This is Spray and Pray coming up to the last lap. Oh, that's just cost him dearly on the last corner. Oh, he's going to have to be careful to get a grid place penalty or a DQ for speeding in pits. So you've got to play it very cautiously. And there won't be enough time for Jeffries to get this lap done. And there we have qualifying for race 2 complete. So we have a 0:1:43 starting at the front, followed by Sami, Philly, Gallen, Wera, Mickliffe, DK, Jeffries, D-Train, Cocodog, Kakadu, DG, Balaki, Steph. Cliffo cops a 2 grid place penalty, so sees him start from position 16, and Spray and Pray will move up into position 15. So that's unfortunate for him, copping out the end and taking 2 grid place penalties. So over into the race ready now. And we don't get a great starting view for the race. Couldn't really see where Sami went wrong with the start. Whether he did spool up at all. But just see how fuel loads. So we have Sami running 12 litres of fuel. The Zero is running 60, but hits because he probably hasn't finished adjusting his setup yet. And the difference is traction control and ABS is on for a Zero. A Zero got off to a very good start. Several drivers opting for the traction control and ABS. Okay, just opting for the ABS. Jeffrey's running both. Nice, running around these 60 litres of fuel. Cliffo running 30 litres. Army's running 52. And Cliffo looking to do a splash and dash. The rest of the drivers looking to run enough fuel to last out. Here we are, ready to start race 2 of round 1. And off we go, and it's a pretty good start for Sami and Azuro. We can see Philly Manili darting up in between the two. He gets off alongside of Azuro. He's now actually leading the race, so it's now Sami and Philly Manili have gotten ahead. Oh, there's almost contact from Sami and Azuro. Azuro doesn't normally fall back like this at the start of a race. This is a good opportunity for Sami and Philly to get ahead. They're going to have to try and really defend Azuro to keep him at bay. It's a pretty good looking start to the race. It looks pretty tidy. Oh, and a little bit of short turning by Philly. And Azuro, you can see him looking for an opportunity to get around Sami, but he can't go for an inside line. An outside line's only going to box him in by Philly Manili. This is going to be a pretty exciting race so far with how things are looking. Oh, and then there's some wall contact. That was Mick Cliff at the back there. Gallon's alongside Azuro as well. Azuro really dropping some speed off. Oh, and a bit of a touch coming into turn 1. That's very disastrous. Could have been worse. Gallon had some bad luck with being spun back out around on track and then being flipped before. He's going to have to do some recovery. But Sami is out in the lead. Philly has dropped off. This could be the break to Azuro's streak. Can Sami manage to just last this out for 28 laps? He's overdue for a race win. Brainprey is in the pits. He must have taken damage on the first lap. Sami is starting to pull away. He's starting to nearly put half a second on Azuro. Last lap around 120.2 by Sami, and Azuro at 120.7. That was a lot of speed that Azuro was carrying into that last corner. Philly Manili also starting to catch back up on Azuro. Sami is going to have to really hope that the rest of the guys behind Azuro do try and catch up to him and put a bit of pressure on Azuro, and that could allow Sami to try and further that gap. We don't know just how well Sami will do out in front. Some drivers do tend to lose a little bit of pace once they're out in front. It's pretty tight so far. Azuro is closing in very quickly now. Is also catching back up to Philly. Oh, Azuro is very tight now. Oh, that was a slingshot. He's going for a pass along the back straights. And he's just owned the track position coming into the turn. That takes that position away from Sami. It was a very nice move by Azuro. Oh, and it's almost going to be a return for Sami. There was a little bit of contact. Balaki's just gone into the pits as well. He hasn't had the bad luck that he saw in race 1. He was DQ'd on approach into the pit. Oh no, that is Philly going for a slide, and he's just touched Sami as well. I think Sami has gotten through it pretty safe. That's only a minor scrape. Sami usually ends up in some bad luck, but that has cost him some very much needed time. So Azuro has now gotten ahead. At least it wasn't an accident that's going to cost him dearly and then possibly the entire race. He's dropping a fair bit of speed off. I don't know if that's shaken him a little. Weir has now moved up into second position. Weir had a great race 1, taking podium in third position. He darts off to the side. Is he letting Sami back through? He may be I think he may have been abiding by a slowdown. I think that's what Sami was doing as well. Switching back just to allow that penalty to be served. Mick Cliff, he is going flat out, going to take on Wirra for third position. Slingshot down into turn one. This could be interesting. Up onto that curb. This is where we saw Philly spin out. He manages to hold that in, but Wirra is looking for an opportunity to get around. D-Train is also sneaking up on these two. This is some very tight racing. It is only 5.5 seconds between first position to 7th position. It is still very tight, and that's 5 laps in. So it's only a third of the way of what we had in the sprint race, and there's only 5 seconds separating half the field. That is spectacular. Oh, just cuts that there from Mickliffe. That's going to cost him some time. He's going to have to look to defend that inside line. Wirra's going to get up along the inside of him, but I don't think he's carrying enough speed. Can he slingshot around on the straight? No, he doesn't. Mickliffe is able to move back over. Zero hasn't been able to get away too far yet. He's still sitting at 2.7 seconds. Oh, and we have Wirra slingshot around, same as D-Train, taking a double slipstream. Then he carried a lot of speed. That is what you're going to have to be very cautious of. So when you do get the slipstream and you get that aero wash, you then also have the disadvantage of braking, because you don't have as much wind resistance to help pull that car up, and then since you're carrying a lot more speed, you're going to have to start allowing for a much earlier braking zone. It's pretty tight for the battle for third position. Mickliffe doing it all from a controller as well. Kakadu having a lot better luck this time around. Got caught up in the incident from where Gallen got flipped into lap 2 in race 1. And then he didn't have much good luck after that. There's a few spin outs, so he's having a much better run this time around. And back to Blarkey, currently wearing a time second penalty. I've got to quickly scroll and have a look. So he's wearing 10 seconds. This is where he came undone in race 1. He ended up copping the 50-second penalty, ended up costing him a DQ in the end. D-Train looking to take some evasive action there as he saw Mickliffe starting to get a little bit of slip on that turn. These guys are nice and close, but they're not able to really bring that gap in by much. They are all very consistent pace. So Mickliffe setting his last lap at 116.5. D-Train is at 116.3. Is very tight. But have a look. Last lap around, Sami set at 113.6. He was setting consistent 113s in the first race, and that is with when they were only running around 12 litres of fuel. He's currently pulling that now with 40 litres. And last lap set by a 0 was a 114. And I was mentioning towards the end of the race, if Sami kept that pace up and there was another few laps left to go, he would have actually been having a shot at a 0. So there were only 8 laps in. There's 22 laps to go and a pit stop. Sami can definitely get back up and lead the race again. At those times again, and last time around a 0 just pushed a 113.675. So he's probably just seen Sami's times and seeing him starting to close that gap in, and he's definitely in his mirrors. He knows he is coming for him. It's not going to be an easy drive out front this time around, I think. Mickliffe out in third position. It would be spectacular if he can maintain this pace and see himself on the podium. But been in racing with us for quite a while. I don't think he's had a podium finish. It would be spectacular, especially when he's out there racing these guys all from a controller as well. We've seen that in the past from other drivers such as Bertie, who used controller as well. And D-Train and Kakadu sitting tight on Wira's tail. They're both carrying a lot of speed. They ran wide. That's going to allow an opportunity for Kakadu to carry a lot more mid-corner speed. What he's done is always looking for an opening. He went for an outside, then to an inside. He's going to have to tuck in behind him and try and slingshot around. And then he's also going to have to expect to be blocked by Wira as he does do that as well. As they're almost free wide in different lines. So there's not a clear path to make an easy pass. Kakadu is doing some very good pace the last lap around of 1:15.1. D-Train was 1:16.4. More than a second quicker. That's why we're seeing him sitting hot on his tail. It's the same as Wira as well. Last time around, a very slow lap. Oh, he's peeling off into the pits as well. Not sure if he's taken some damage. He's got fuel. May just be a strategy. An early pit and just log out the last 20 laps. That could very well be it. Look at that gap between first and second. Sami is now closing that gap to under 2 seconds. And their lap times are on par with each other, with Sami just a fraction quicker. The 0.043 is the difference between the last lap times set by these guys. Sami is really closing in very quickly. We're only a third of the way through. It's lap 10 of 30. Our race leaders are pretty safe at the moment from third position. Oh, and there's a car off to the side there. Balaki has just gone off. Move that car out of the way. He's got to have to try and find a safe spot to pull out. He should be clear to go now. Good safe driving by Balaki. Cliffo currently catching up to Wira, so Wira is just peeled out from the pits. He hasn't made an addition to fuel at all. Well, that's a very bad line by Zero. That's going to cost him dearly. It's going to at least cost him half a second there. But with the chicane missing the one line, he will follow through on a bad line. That was the case. That's just allowed Sami to catch up some precious time on him. I think in the next couple of laps we're going to have Sami sitting on the tail of a Zero. It's going to be interesting just to see how these guys play out with pit strategy. A Zero does like to pit as late as possible. So we will do it usually on the second last lap. Get it out of the way and then go through, especially when he is very strong out in front, pushing that pace. It's best for him to serve that pit as late as possible. And then over the course of 30 laps, we'll start to feel some fatigue. It does depend on your driving style and if you do need that quick little break as well. Check out the rest of the field while Sami closes in on Zero because he's getting that down to just under a second. Coca Dog's closing in on Steph. So Coca Dog and Steph both doing well. Steph with a currently sitting in 10th position. Balaki has pit. Wira has pit. I think Spray and Pray has also pit. He did pit early, so he may have actually been serving a drive-through penalty. I'm not sure. We'll have a look at his car and just see if he does have some damage, but I'm not sure if it was before heading into the pits or afterwards. We're now in 9th position, but having pit, he will recover a lot of ground when the rest of the cars come in to serve their mandatory pit. I think we're looking at about 30 to 40 seconds for a pit stop from the looks of things. Well, I think that's Blarkey that's just ran off on track again. Oh, it might have been, no, it was DG. But Blarkey was off at the same time. DG's taken a big hit. I think he is coming up to pit lane very soon. He's got a couple of corners to go. This will serve him as his mandatory, I guess. Sami did have a gap to under a second. Has dropped off 0.3 of a second at the moment. So he has not so quick. Oh, he locked that back right tyre coming into turn 1. And with this track, that left tyre will be taking quite a thrashing. It would be good to be able to see just how their tyres are wearing. But I wouldn't be surprised if some of our drivers have decided to look at swapping out that one single tyre to a hard compound just to make those tyres last out. Then with the rest, they could probably last out a set of softs for the 30 laps. DK Rush that's been silently picking away at people. He's looking at taking on Kakadu for position 4. Having a lot better luck this time compared to race 1. It's being caught up. Oh, that's another blue car. That'd be DG or Blarkey. That's off to the side. There's Blarkey. Looks like that reared back. Yeah, the boot's actually come up. That's what that is. I thought he was actually missing the rear, but the boot has actually lifted. That's quite interesting. Haven't actually seen them open before. But Sami has closed that gap again. Starting to pick that pace up, so he was 0.3 of a second quicker than a 0 last lap. But he has actually shaved off at least half a second. After that big spill, he's gone for a spin and potentially rolled that rear back into a wall. Let's just have a look to see the differences. Oh, he's actually quickest off his best lap this time around. Barmy is on fire. He's really in the zone. Zero is going to be in a lot of trouble. Very nice line for the last turn. A very quick lap. Look at this, he is on fire. Azura is in trouble. The thing that Sami needs to be also thinking about, as well as just getting ahead of Azura, is then what he's going to do in terms of pitting. Does he keep on this current pace, or he doesn't want to follow suit here? That's going to cost him. It's going to be a time-second penalty. He's just going to probably have to wear that, I think. It's not going to be worth slowing down, or if he does, probably turn off into the pits and use that as a slower lap. That's cost him 0.3 of a second. He may be lucky. I don't think he's going to be copping a slowdown. That's going to give him a chance to at least catch up. It would be devastating if he does take a time second penalty and then happen to get in front of a zero and cross the line, but to have that taken away by way of time penalty, that would be very sad. So starting to peel away, so we're just past the halfway mark. Drivers will be feeling a bit of fatigue now. They're going to be a little bit more prone to error. If that is the case, that is when you should definitely peel in the pits, have that bit of a reprieve, and then refocus. Cliff is currently in third position still. It's 14 seconds behind the race leader. He's got a fair bit of a safety net between him and Kakadu. He's currently in fourth position. He's 9 seconds behind Mick Cliff. We have a battle going on for position 8 at the moment. D-Train looking to get around Wiradjuri. A bit of traffic going on. I think that's Steph's car. No, it's number 57. I think that is Blarkey. He's having a lot of dramas with the car in this race. Oh, I think that's Cliffo that's just gone for a spin. I wonder if it wants to show us anyone at all. Yes, no. When the cameraman wants to do his job. Yes, I think that was Cliffo. He's taken a hit on that front bar. Well, Mick Cliff has opted to pit in now. I think that, I'm not sure who that was going past. Yeah, it was Coco Dog that just goes past. He's currently on lap 17, so he is a lap down. So on lap 18, Azura is still leading the race. Made a small error through the chicanes. That's right, Demon. They probably won't change the fronts if they are running that hard compound on the front left. He's really closing that gap in. Philly's just peeled off into the pits, serving his mandatory. Sami is doing a spectacular job tonight. And you can see just how much he would have definitely gotten a race victory in race 1 should he have had a good start with the pace that he's pulling. He's definitely quickest out there. Oh, there's a little bit of time. We'll have a look and just see who's pulled the fastest lap of the race. That's 1:13.169 by the looks of things, and that is Sami. So he's got the quickest time out there. It is phenomenal. So it's 0.3 of a second quicker than Azuro's best time. We saw him do it for about 3 laps consecutively where he was beating his best time. So he is very quick, and now there's a bit of traffic coming up as well. That spray and pray that they've just gone around. Oh, that's just cost Sami. It's put him off having a back marker. It's not what he was wanting. That's what he would have been hoping for a 0. A bit of traffic to slow him up so he can close that gap in very quick and then try and look for an opportunity to get around. The rest of the field is starting to space out a bit. Kakadu's moved up into third position. He's currently 27 seconds behind the race leader. Recovered that position after Mick Cliff peeled off into the pits. So Mick's last lap of 1:42. You can see there's about 25 seconds on that out lap in way of the pit stop, so we're probably looking at about at least 10 seconds on the in lap to be added. It's probably around 30 to 40 seconds we'll be seeing varying from pit stops. Sami's really closing that in again. very quick on that last corner. He seems to really push some pace up onto a 0 on that last corner. Don't get fastest sector data, but I'm pretty sure Sami is probably quicker through sector 3. Look at him here, he is really on fire, flying through sector 1. He's hot on his tail, coming up to the chicanes. Oh, this has cost him. It's a big spin. That's unfortunate. Look at that. That is disastrous. He was on fire. He would have gone through that chicane. Zero can sigh a big sigh of relief. He would have been needing to defend his position very quickly with the pace that Sami is doing. Some very bad luck. That was very unfortunate for Sami. Hopefully he can recover some ground. It's going to be pretty hard with 9 laps remaining, with only the very tight pace that they are doing consistently together. Can try and shave off a few seconds and have a very good pit stop. He may still be able to get back out there and have another crack at a 0, but this is where a 0 gets in his element. Kakadu, not sure if he was aiming for that traffic cone or not. Hard to follow close. I think that is Blaki that's just moved out of the way. No, that is DG's car, number 58. Hero gets around. The DK Rush moves into position 3 after Kakadu's gone into the pits. So Kaka's already been out now as well. 0, Sami, DK, Jeffries, all needing... Oh, I think there's someone just spinning out in the background there. I'm not sure what's going on. I think it was a yellow car. I'm not sure who else was driving a yellow car. We have Gallon starting to close in on Coco Dog. They're currently on lap 21, so a couple of laps down. Probably be looking to get past Kakadog in the next lap. About 1.4 seconds quicker. It was a very quick turn 1. There was a lock of that back left. Oh, and almost a bit of a touch. Gets around a nice pass for Gallon. He moves up into position 10. Really currently in 9th position. Falling back after a very good start to the race. Oh, I think that is Blaki off to the side. It looks like he's missing that front end and his bonnet. And his bonnet's there, he's just lost that front bar. Blaki having a lot of bad luck tonight. D-Train looking to get past Wirra. These two were fighting for it earlier, and they were doing the same in the first race as well. The 0 goes around, so they're showing the blue flag. This will be on approach to the chicane, I think it is too, is it? Yes. 0 carried a lot of speed through there, and a little bit offline to get around. I think that's a green car off the side there too. Yeah, Cliffo has just gone off, so he's... I'm not sure if he's just waiting for traffic. I thought he might have been having a tech issue there because it looked like the car was bogged down. Oh, and I think that is Wirra that's just gone off. He's taken some damage. His obviously fine to keep driving. Car's looking very bruised and battered. Unfortunate for Wira, he had a very strong finish in race 1 tonight. And he has pit. Kakadu has pit as well. I think D-Train does need to pit. I cannot recall seeing if he had come up as pitted. We have Mickliffe in 5th position who has pit. He'll easily recover back up into 3rd position by the time Jeffries peels off to serve his pit in the next few laps, as well as DK Rush, who's now doing so as we speak. Zero, our race leader. That wasn't an easy start for him. He's having Philly and Sami take him at the lights. It was a very good comeback compared to the start of race 1 for Sami. And then a lot of bad luck for him with that big spin coming into the chicane. Like he didn't take damage, but look at him, he has actually recovered time. Not sure if that's Wira or Philly. Ooh, he's almost just misses the water cans. Wira is carrying a lot of pace. He's finding it difficult to get around a back marker. At this rate, I don't think there's a shot for Sami to get a position from Azuro. He's in his sights though. He's closing that gap. It is teetering around the 4.5 seconds to 5 seconds. That's what time we might. No, it doesn't show sectors on our timing screen. That's unfortunate. The Jeffries now peeling off to serve his mandatory pit. DK Rush will move up position. We just saw him pit last time around, so he managed to still pull out in front of Mickliffe. Mickliffe will move up into 4th position while Jeffries is in the pits. Kakadu moves up into 5th. D-Train moves up into 6th position. I think that's Sami just in tail of him there as well. So D-Train will be showing the blue flag. It does make it difficult too because those drivers do have very quick pace as well. It does make it a little bit more difficult, so he's just going to have to move out of the way for him. He doesn't want to lose any time getting caught up. He's going to be a little bit offline coming onto this chicane. Hopefully that's okay because he's just shaved off 0.7 of a second just in that sector. With Sami having the fastest lap of the race. Pretty sure he's quickest in all 3 sectors with the time that he set. But he's really closing in on Azuro, and Azuro's catching up on some traffic, and he's going to have to pit as well. That's Cliffo. No, that's Kakadu, sorry. That is Kakadu's car. Very safe pass. Oh, I think didn't carry a lot of speed for that corner. If he was a little bit off put or took a slightly different line, whereas Kakadu was a lot quicker. He's still sitting on that mark, 4.5 seconds, up to 5. He's just breaking it. He's down to 4 seconds now. 3.7, 3.5. I thought with a drop like that, potentially Azuro was peeling off into the pits, but it's not the case. He's just closing in that gap. Last lap around at 1:14.375, Sami at 1:14.1. That is very tight. DK Rush is starting to close in on Mickliffe after losing a position as well. DK did go around last lap in third position. So Mick has moved back up. Azuro's deciding to pit now on lap 28. What will Sami do? He stays out. Oh, I think that's Steph's car over there as well. So with the pace that Sami's doing now, this is where he really needs to push big so he can try and get a good space on Azuro. And he's probably going to have to hope that there's a fair bit of traffic in between him and Azuro. That way he can push this lap a fair bit. So when he does head off into the pits on this lap, if he doesn't do it and forgets, it will DQ him. He doesn't want to do that. Bring up these so that we can see his sector time data. The car is incredibly light now. 1 second off his best. He's still probably quick time. He's probably feeling that car to be very light. He's got to pit now. He's going to have to make it a very quick pit. Oh, he keeps it to 60 right on the cones. He is using every bit of speed he potentially can. There's Azuro. Let's bring up that map. So the arrow on the map is Azuro's car. The white dot is the race leader. That is Sami. It is moving. The car is moving. He's halfway along pit lane. He's going to come out just behind Azuro. He's going to have one lap to try and take the shot. He should be away for speed now. It's probably going to come out about 3 seconds behind, I think. No, 2 seconds behind, so he saved 1.5 seconds. That is a brilliant comeback. So that lap staying out while Azuro was in definitely was a good strategy. It's going to be pretty hard to try and dig in a 2 second gap for the last lap. But if he can't get it, it's going to be a very good race for Sami regardless. And still a very good start to the championship. Thanks for joining us, Demon. Catch you next time. Here we are. The final lap. Azuro flashes the lights coming across the line to finish. Double victory for the start. Well done, Azuro. Sami closes it in, only 1.3 seconds off. That is very tight. Cliff comes up in third position. I think it's a first time podium with Apex eSports League. He's not quite all the way around yet. He's just only coming into Sector 3. Very nice race from Mick Cliff. Congratulations on the podium, Mick. Great pace. BK Rush comes up in 4th position. D-Train not too far behind in 5th. And that's Kakadu behind him. I don't think he has a time second penalty, so it's not going to cost him a position. Crosses Kakadu in 6th. We're some bad luck seeing him fall towards midfield, but a 7th position in the main race, a good finish. Followed by Philly in 8th position. There's 20 seconds to wrap up the last laps. And then we have the conclusion of round 1 of the Toyota 86 Championship. So it's been a very exciting race. And Sami did some spectacular driving to try and close that gap in on Azuro, only finishing 1.719 off from that, and the fastest lap ended up being a 1:13.027. When we checked before, Sami set a 1:13.1, so that is very quick. But congratulations to Azuro at the top of the podium with a race victory for the main race tonight. And Sami in second, Mitcliffe in third. Well done on the podium finish. DK Rush in fourth, followed by D-Train, Kakadu, Wirra, Philly, Manili, Gallen, Jeffries, Coco Dog, Spray and Pray, DG, Steph, Cliffo, Balaki in 16th position. So at least not getting a DQ this time around, with a bit more better luck in race 2 tonight. So that is the end of round 1. So we have round 2 coming up next week. So we will bring that up on screen for you. So we have Sportsland Sugo, so another very tight technical course with some good fast sweeping bends as well. There's a lot of those in this series. That's what we sort of aim for, to really suit these cars. So it's going to be some really intense, exciting, close racing as from what we've seen tonight. So it's a good start to see the very tight racing with these drivers, and with how Sami was going with the pace, putting it to a 0. We do need to see a 0 streak broken. He's now sitting with 11 race wins consecutively with us, with having taken 9 from 9 in the last championship just concluded. So don't forget to hit that follow button if you haven't done so yet. Our Facebook page as well for our results and standings, and our YouTube page will have all our past broadcasts saved, and we will also upload this race to that, so you can always go back and check it out. So thanks for joining us for the stream, and we'll be live again with round 2 next week, 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you trackside then. Thanks.